So we're going to start seated in Sukhasana this morning. And I'm going to remember to turn the page over so I get to the start of the class. Sitting up nice and tall, just dropping those knees down towards the floor. They'll wriggle through the spine and wriggle through the neck. Let the shoulders roll back a couple of times, or give them some shrugs. And then just let the eyes close, palms down on the thighs, and breathe. We'll be here for about 2 minutes or so. Just checking in really, see how we feel. Noticing any tight spots in the body. Noticing how we sit. Do we sit upright? Do we lean forwards, sideways, backwards? Is the spine rounding? Chest flaring up towards the sky? How do we sit? To slow the breath down, taking charge mentally, connecting with the breath. So let those eyes open. Wriggle around again. Bring the fingertips onto the collarbones and the elbows together to touch in front of the chest. Inhale, we'll take the elbows up. So as angel wings, just rolling the shoulders back. Letting those ribs and elbows connect. Squeezing the shoulder blades together a little bit. And then bringing the elbows low across the chest again. Just smoothly working our way around. And we'll take that a few times in the opposite direction. Just noticing how the shoulders react. Are they smooth running or are they a little bit crinkly? Gentle cracking of muscular fiber. It gets a bit tight in the shoulders. We'll let the hands come back down and take it into some side bends. So we'll turn around to the left. Breathe in. Release as we exhale. Take it around to the opposite side. Inhale again. And float around. So we're just going to take that very slowly, keeping the hands low to start with. And we'll start to bring the arms into play. As you inhale, take the hands up. Exhale, rotate across the other side and drop the hands down. Inhale. Rotate. Drop to the other side. Do that once more to each. Try and keep those legs relaxed down on the floor. Come back to the center. Just let the hands gently come down. Now we're going to move off the block and towards the back of the mat for sitting down. A little bit onto our backs. So got the strap alongside the mat, just in case I need it later on. Now draw the knees in towards the chest and take the hands on top of the kneecaps. Now draw the knees wide and closer towards me, and let them exhale away. So, along with noticing the stretch through the hips and the groins, I'll become aware of a slight tilting action in the spine and the pelvis. I've done a few rotations. On the next exhalation, as I draw the knees in towards the body, I'm going to draw the tailbone away from the floor, so starting to engage my abdominal muscles a little bit more. Inhaling the legs out wide. So just getting that little bit of a lift, maybe 1/8 of an inch, maybe more. Be careful not to crane the neck in a backward motion. And trying to work slowly with the breath. So it's actually a sustained contraction. Let the feet come back down to the floor. Take a little breath. I'm going to bring my right knee in towards my chest and lengthen out my left leg. Internally rotate the thigh, point the toes towards the sky. And then flex both feet. Draw the pelvis away. Draw the knees back in and cross over the opposite way. So I'm just looking down the legs to make sure I'm following the center line. Letting the head come back down. Internal rotation. And flex both feet and send the pelvis away. So drawing the knees together and flexing back, but you're pushing away the pelvis. Duality of effort. And release again, feet to the floor, taking the arms out wide to come into a spinal twist. Shimmy the hips over towards the left and let the legs come down to the right. As they arrive, flex both feet. Try and keep the thighs together. So if they're away from the floor, knees, that's not a problem. But we're just going to try and keep the thighs close together. Shoulders on the ground nice and flat. And we'll slowly exhale back up. Shimmy to the opposite side. Let's go down and nice and relaxed. And we flex, and then we draw the thighs together. And bring the legs back into the center. And take the knees in towards the chest and the hands up towards the sky, pointing the toes up towards the ceiling, extending the legs up into hopefully a nice position where the legs look relatively 90 degrees above the body. And point the toes out. So just waiting for these quadriceps to kind of engage fully, feeling the back of the legs stretching out a little bit. Since we haven't done any hand-knee work. And then we're going to let the left leg and the right arm come back down. Slow and inhale back up. I'm going to try and keep the abdominal muscles drawn in towards the spine, and the spine in the same position all the way through, rather than letting it flex and move around. So we use all those muscles in the lower back and through the abdomen to keep ourselves stable. Alternating gently from one side to the other. We'll come back into the center, bend the knees in towards the body. One foot at a time comes down to the ground. Take your arms out wide, feet onto the center line. We're going to take the left foot up towards the sky and fold that over. See if we can wrap that foot around the back of the calf. If not, just squeeze the thighs together. The shimmy again, over to the left. The legs drop to the right. Turning the head to the left. Lift slowly back up, trying to use the abdominal muscles rather than pressing into the shoulders. Bring the hips back and extend the leg up to give it a little shake out. Take the opposite leg up. Cross that over. Wrap around if you're able to. Shimmy out to the right. And let the legs drop. Gently over to the left. Now, keeping the legs over on that side, we're just going to take the right hand across the chest and roll into the side body. Onto our left, use the hands down onto the floor as we untangle the legs and bring ourselves back up. And then to the front of the mat, on all fours, just moving the block off the end of the mat. That's out of the way. Allow yourself to spread your hands nice and wide, so little finger and thumb as far apart as you can make them become. Underneath the hips, roll the shoulders back lightly as you draw your chest forwards, tailbone towards the sky, draw the belly in again, roll the middle of your spine up and tuck the pelvis, draw those abs in. Inhale forwards, exhaling out. And the next exhalation, allow yourself to round the spine and press the hands back into the ground. So you push your heels and buttocks together and the head down to the floor for kind of a loose version of child's pose. And we'll draw ourselves back up, inhaling all the way forwards into that shape of a cat-cow. Moving back. Just flowing gently through from the cow shape into the child shape. Thyra cat. And then back into neutral. Let's sit back. We'll take the knees wider in this child's pose and allow ourselves to take the hands out in front. This time we're going to have the right hand on the bottom, left hand on top. Let the head drop through the space between your arms. Put the hands out as far as you can so you get a big stretch down the armpit into your latissimus dorsi. Split the hands over, so the right hand goes on top. Lift the head up and look towards the hands. Take the hands over towards the right side of the mat. I'm going to place the left hand on top. Drop the head in, and then walk the left hand as far forward as you can. So maybe you can get the fingers of your right hand to be down towards the knuckle joint. Maybe it won't go as far as that. Everybody's built different. More breaths here. Really feeling that down the side of the body between the ribs and the hips. One last breath. As you exhale, look towards the hands. Bring yourself over to the opposite side. This time we'll place the right hand on top. Head drops in, and then we'll walk that right hand forward. Maybe take a few breaths. Not a problem. So both arms are straight. Just that one shoulder is extended out a lot more than the other. Looking back up, we bring ourselves gently back into the center. We'll move into down dog. So we'll take the hands towards the front of the mat, lift up, bring the knees back underneath, roll the shoulders back, get them in a good position, and tuck the toes under, and lift ourselves slowly into our down dog. Choice to walk your down dog or stay static. Your choice. You can also bend the knees and work a little bit more into a flat spine. Your choice. Whatever you feel good. Follow that feeling. Getting that nice stretch into the back of the legs. As we mentioned before, we haven't done a lot of waking up in the hamstring department. So use down dog to really open out the back of the leg. From heel to sitting bone. We'll take a scissor dog here. We'll take the right leg up towards the sky and let ourselves open the hips out a little bit, keeping the shoulders square. Bend that right knee and bring the heel in towards the buttock, and then flex the foot and see how high you can take your knee. We'll scoot that into one big circle, so drawing that knee back in towards the chest, taking it out to the side, out towards the sky, One full rotation, the foot comes back down to the floor. The same on the opposite side, so that left leg's going to lift. Keep the shoulders square, strong arms. Get as much height as you can. Bend your knee, flex your foot. Lift the knee continually towards the sky. Be surprised how high you can get. Draw that knee in towards the chest, holding your down dog. Take the knee out to the side. Rotate up towards the ceiling. Bring it back in. And foot to the floor. Into a plank. Knees to the ground. Sit back onto the heels. Let ourselves sit up nice and tall. And hands high, we interlace the palms. Index finger points towards the sky as we lengthen out, drawing the belly in, sending the tailbone back. We hinge forwards into a swan float down to the ground. Separate the hands, roll ourselves back up through a rounded spine, drawing hands along the floor. Use the breath to lift. Exhale and belly in to come back down to the floor. Take one more of these. And then simply bring ourselves back up onto all fours. Take a breath there. Tuck the toes underneath. Move ourselves into down dog. Come up onto the tippy toes. And then just walk the feet in slowly towards the front of the mat. Trying to keep the legs straight so we're inching in into that forward fold. Remember, the body's going to do this a little bit tight in some areas, so be generous to yourself. Line the fingers and toes up, ribs on thighs. We hang for a moment. Some t-shirt slippage going on here this morning. And then when we're ready, we'll bring the hands onto the hips, soften the knees flat back to lift up. Take the hands high on the breath in towards the heart as we exhale down to the floor. Take the weight into the toes. Let the thighs lift, knees bend. We're taking the right foot back into a lunge. Dropping the hips down as we press out through a straight back leg. Using the fingertips. So attach ourselves to the floor. Rolling the shoulders back a little bit. Last breath here. We'll let the hands come to the floor and step back into a plank. Take a little breath from here. We'll let the knees come to the ground. Keep the toes tucked under. Draw the belly in. Bend the elbows back into the ribs. Let your chest come between your hands. Slide your feet away. Belly to the ground. Bootlaces down. Bring your hands down towards the bottom of the ribs. So you can start to immediately feel your shoulders retract backwards and down. And squeeze the shoulder blades together as you inhale, lift up into a low cobra. Exhale down. Inhale up. And exhale down. Try to use the hands and lift. Make the effort come from the spine, all the muscles of your back, and the legs lengthening away for a little bit of ballast. One last lift. And then maybe move the hands a little further towards the back if you need to lift yourself up onto all fours. We'll sit down onto our haunches, then come back up onto all fours. Roll the shoulders back so the shoulder girdle strengthens, and then lift ourselves gently into down dog. We'll draw the right knee into the chest, bring the foot through. Take a little breath here in our lunge. Pressing off the toes, come back into that forward fold, hang down deep. Hands onto the hips, lengthen the spine, and lift up slow. You can take that a little more quickly, second time round, hands in towards the heart. Exhale down to the floor. Take a breath in. Left foot back into lunge. Breath in. Step it back into plank. Breath in. Knees to the ground as you exhale, chest down between the hands. Slide the feet away. Inhale, hands alongside the body. Exhale on the way up. A bit of a different breath. Inhale on the way down. Exhale on the way up. Inhale on the way down. Exhale. Coming down. 2 more. Hopefully those hands are far enough back to just tuck the toes and lift back onto all fours. Sit onto the haunches again. So you get a little bit of a toe stretch. Come onto all fours, roll the shoulders back. Lift the knees, we're back into down dog. Right knee in towards the chest, through for the lunge. And exhale, forward fold. Hands onto the hips. Let ourselves lift up. We step up to the front of the mat. A little bit of traveling going on. Inhale high. Hands through the heart. Exhale low, draw the belly in. We'll take the right foot to the back for lunge and drop the heel in for warrior two. Bring the hands alongside the thighs. So lift up. Now take the hands high. Rotate the body. Keep the back foot planted, lengthen out about 45. Stretch out through the fingers. Draw that front thigh back a little bit. Take a breath. Hands come to the floor. Now, as you turn the back heel up towards the sky, in the lunge, we'll take a twist, left hand lifting. Bring the hand down to the floor. We'll step it back into a plank. We'll take half plank and up dog. Roll ourselves back into down dog. Hold here. Then we'll draw the right knee in. Lunge to the front of the mat. Press off the toes for the forward fold. Hands to the hips and lift. And we'll drive that through the second side. Inhale high. Hands through the heart. Exhale down. Left leg back. Drop the heel in. Hands alongside the body. We'll lift and cartwheel open. So press down through that shin into the front foot to get the lift. Let the groins open. A few breaths. Press both feet down into the floor. Bring the hands high again. We'll come out to that 45-degree angle, power lunge. Draw this front thigh back a little bit so the hips are squarer. Then bring the hands to the floor. Step back into a plank for half plank. Take up dog. It's a down dog. And draw left knee through. Lunge. Exhale for the forward fold. Hands onto the hips and lift up. Inhale high. Bring the hands into the heart. Make sure your feet are parallel and hip distance apart. And then soften the knees over the toes so the knees track the feet. And sit back a little deeper into chair. So as to extend the hands out. I'm woefully close to the wall this morning for some reason. So fingertips are bumping. Bring the hands back in towards the heart. Shift the weight into the left foot. Slide the right foot back into lunge. Drop the heel in. Let ourselves open up into warrior two. And this time we're going to take warrior two. We're just going to simply take the hands behind the back, interlace the fingers, draw the hands down. Let the shoulder blades squeeze together. Bring the ribs down. So as we squeeze the shoulder blades together, there's a little bit of a rib and chest lift. Going to use the abdominal muscles to draw those back down again. Going to take a breath from here. Keeping the hands behind, we're going to lean out into the extended side angle. So we're trying to squeeze the shoulder blades together, keep the chest square to the side of the mat, taking the hands towards the back foot. Slowly lift, come back into warrior two, hands above the head and in towards the heart. We're going to spin the hips and the chest towards the front of the mat, spin on the back foot, lean forwards a little bit, take a breath, and step into the front of the mat. Hopefully those feet land parallel, hip distance apart again. Inhale high, hands into the heart. Soften the knees again. Down deep. When you're ready and the abdominal muscles feel like they've engaged, you take the hands out to follow the line of the body. Palms facing in. So the weight is pretty much into the toes, heels. The toes are lifting from the ground. How can I get that around the wrong way? Bring the hands in towards the heart. Shift the weight into the right leg. Slide the left foot back into your best lunge. Drop the heel in, open up into your warrior two. Just if you need to. Bring hands behind. Interlace the fingers. Shoulder blades squeeze together. Hands move down. Abdominals draw in. Just getting used to the length in the body. Finding our balance. Slowly lengthening out into that extended side angle. As you come in, it's a tendency for that chest to roll down towards the floor. So you're going to roll the bottom rib cage around a little bit more and up towards the sky. And come back into warrior two. Hands in towards the heart. Rotate gently. Find that balance as we lean forwards. Take a breath. Step into the front of the mat. Hands down by the side of the body for mountain pose, closing the eyes. Relax the shoulders. And then we'll open the eyes again. Allow ourselves to just step back a little bit towards the middle of the mat. Move the block in. Take a heel onto the corner of the edges, front of the block. Bring the hands in towards the heart. And we're going to tuck the tailbone under a little bit so the belly draws in. We're going to let the knees point out to the side and sink our way down slow. Going to keep the hands in towards the heart, looking ahead. And we're coming down over 19 breaths, trying to lean forwards as little as possible. There will be some leaning forwards. That's just gravity and mechanics. As we ease in, hopefully, those knees didn't creak and crack too much. We'll bring the elbows in towards the thighs and the hands in towards the heart, drawing the belly in, rolling the shoulders back and the chest up and forwards. Now in a moment we are going to sit back down onto the floor and start taking several attempts at boat pose. So the strap is there as an option depending on how you feel. Since we are doing several rounds, you might want to start with the strap and then get your confidence and your balance, and then let yourself work free for the second round. Okay, now relax the hands down to the floor. Just sit down onto the block, take the feet out in front, shimmy forwards enough to come off the block, and then take that out to the side. We're in Dandasana. We're going to bring the feet together so the toes, heels touch. We're going to flex the toes back. Try and have big toe, little toe the same distance. So there's a little bit of rotation in the thighs inwards for most of us if you pronate a little bit through the feet. We draw the flesh out a little bit on the bottom. Take the hands out to the side. Okay, that's enough prep for that. I'm going to slide the heels towards us as we lean back gently. Now this is where you can start to think about using the strap. You would hook that underneath the soles of your feet. Allow yourself to walk your hands in close towards the feet. And then slowly take up the slack of the strap as you roll the shoulders back and lift the chest. Trying to keep the flattest, longest spine you can. As you adjust your balance, you slowly start to take the heels away. Keep the knees and thighs squeezing together a little bit and lengthen the legs out. Get a sense of lengthening the front thighs away, pressing out through the balls of the feet, and flex the toes a little bit. It's not the most comfortable feeling to use the strap around the feet. They do get a little bit crushed when we use this method, but it's great to just kind of prep the nervous system of where we want to be. Okay, I'm going to take a little breath from there, bend the knees gently, and bring ourselves back down with control. Lengthen the legs back out and back into our Dandasana. Again, we're trying to lengthen these front thighs away. They're doing everything they can to draw themselves back in. Not that helpful. Okay, take a second version of that, or a second round. Again, you can use the strap if you wish. Allow yourself to bend the knees, draw the heels in. Allow yourself to lean back. Let the chest lift, squeeze the thighs together, find your balance point. Slowly take the feet away with control. Lengthen the legs out. And then we'll bend the knees again and see if we can come down with control. And lengthen the legs out. From Dandasana, we'll take a little breath and bring the left foot in towards the body. We're going to fold the ankle to the outside of that right knee. The shin is this side of the thigh, sorry, of the kneecap, so it's on the thigh rather than the shin. We try and let this left knee down towards the floor as best we can, and we keep the foot flexed back towards the knee. If we take the hands back, about shoulder distance apart, we slowly draw the right leg in and shimmy our bottom a little closer towards the legs. And we squeeze the shoulder blades back, lift the chest up. Just want to be able to feel a little bit of something happening in that left hip. Doesn't have to be a big something, but definitely a something. Release. Lengthen those legs out. Feet together at the front of the mat, and we do the same again. Right leg comes in, we can assist. Let that knee sink a little closer to the floor just for a few seconds. Let the hip kind of accept where it is. Start the flex of the foot, get used to good habits. Put the hands behind, lift the chest, draw the belly in. Slide the foot a little closer so the sole of the foot is to the floor. Sink your bottom in a little closer, maybe walk the hands in to help. And then squeeze the shoulder blades back and lift the chest. You might get a little tighter into this on one side than the other. It's not a problem about where you end up. It's trying to have a similar experience in both hips in terms of the thing that's happening in your hip that we find so difficult to describe. What exactly is that? Is that my hamstring? Is that my psoas muscle? Is it my piriformis? Is it my abductors? Lots of stuff. Is it my glute? Could be amongst all of those. Okay, I'm going to take a little breath from there and lengthen back out. This time we're going to go for boat pose without the strap. So we're going to bring the hands just behind the back of the knees. Slide the feet in so we can get the lean back and squeeze the thighs together. Extend the feet out slowly and press out through the balls of the feet. And then if you feel confident, you take the hands away from the thighs. Lift the chest, draw the shoulders back. Remember to breathe. Bring the hands back, lower, and lift yourself back up. The legs lengthen back out into that Dandasana. So we want to bring the finesse of recovery into Dandasana, into the practice, rather than just kind of lurching forwards, where you can end up inadvertently pulling lower back muscles. A few more breaths. Slowly bring the feet back in, hands around the back of the thighs. Get ourselves in a nice position, extend the legs out as high as we can. Lengthen the legs away. If you wish to, you can take the hands up towards the sky. So you lean out a little more. And then you bring the hands down gently. Finesse to lift up. Bring the hands back again a little bit like we had before, but we're bringing the feet in close enough so that as we lift our bottom off the ground, we can bring our bottom into the heels. So heels and knees are on top of each other. We lift up into a reverse table, keeping the chin towards the chest, pressing the hips up slowly, and pushing the shoulder blades actually down towards the floor. So we're not even squeezing them together. We're trying to press the shoulder blades down towards the ground, and that will give us more lift across the front of the chest. There's a parallel to each other. We've got about 20 seconds left. Ease our way back down. As we arrive, we'll take that block again back underneath the bottom and just lift ourselves up. Bringing the left foot underneath and out to the side. Right foot crosses over. We'll take the left hand up and bring ourselves into a seated twist. So the pelvis forwards a little bit to get that extension through the spine. Try and have an even weight in both sitting bones. And we'll release from there. Get the legs out. Cross over. Hand on the right up. I'll sit around, just a little bit of counter leaving going there. Again, a little tilt in the pelvis. Try and relax that bottom leg into the floor. Sometimes it can kind of come in, still holding some tension there. Doesn't need to be holding on. So we kind of let it relax. Free up the hips a little more. Last breath here. Turn to the front of the mat. We're going to move into deer pose. So I'm going to take the left foot out to the right with the knee pointing forwards, and I'll lean over to my left as I bring my right foot back. Place the shin through the arch of the foot. Keep both knees on the ground. Just adjust a little bit and try and drop this right hip down to the floor and lift the left hip up a little bit so that the pelvis gets more of a neutral position. And we'll roll across to the other side. And we'll bring ourselves back again. The legs out in front. Move into Janu Shirshasana. So we'll bring the right heel into the groin, knee to the floor. A little bit of flex in the knee. Draw the foot back. Lift the chest, hands onto the shins, and we float forwards over that thigh. You can extend the hands out and wrap them around the sole of the foot if it's easy to do, so that we can then draw the hands back towards the body and therefore the shoulders a little bit as well. So if you can't reach around the sole of the foot, holding on to the sides of the ankle firmly and actually drawing the leg back. Again, same thing, you end up with getting a little bit of a shoulder pull towards the back of the mat. Release, use the hands to lift back up, take that across to the opposite side, square the hips, bend in the knee, flexion of the foot, lifting up, get all the space in the world, fold over. As you exhale, take your time to come in. Extend forwards with the arms when it feels appropriate, and then draw the hands back. Release. And bring ourselves back. This time we're going to bring the foot in towards the groin. Let the toes tuck out to the side a little bit so that the right knee is more at 45 degrees. We'll bring the left foot in. Again, you can use the strap around the sole of the foot or just taking the hands around and interlacing the fingers a little bit. Draw the heel off the floor and knee towards the chest. Take a breath and extend out into heron's pose. Again, draw the shoulders back a little bit. Try and sit up tall. Notice whether you've lifted your front knee off the ground. If you have, you need to lean in a little bit more. Try and have the extended leg up towards the sky with, and it sounds strange, but the shin, the knee and the thigh and the foot pointing up towards the sky naturally. Quite often when I come into this, my hip kind of rolls out to the side. So if I'm not careful, I just twist my ankle in and kind of looks right, but it's not coming from down here. So I want to turn the thigh in to make sure that I got a nice chance of getting myself symmetric through the hips. Almost there. Belly's drawn in a little bit to help. The shoulders draw back as well. Last breath. Bend the knee and bring the foot down. Extending both legs out just for momentarily, releasing the muscles a little bit. We bring the left foot in, the toes are pointing there, the knees are pointing out to the side, square to the front of the mat. Bring the right foot in, bring the hands underneath. Take a little breath. So as we lift, we just take the curvature out of the spine a little bit. Take a breath there for the body and the spine to kind of release. And then extend the foot up. Again, just taking a little bit of time to think about that. Maybe internal rotation in the hip, rolling the shoulders back. Checking that the weight feels like it's into the front bent knee. No matter whether this leg is utterly straight or just reasonably straight, as long as it's off the ground. And we can release from there as well. We'll fold the ankles over again, or the feet over into that Sukhasana, so heels in. Spine lengthens, we fold forwards, down to the ground. Lengthen the arms away so the elbows are off the ground. The forehead just hovers a fraction from the floor. Or if you're miles away, the head hovers miles away from the floor. Also feel like you're getting the stretch through the hips and the lower back. Position really isn't that important. Nice breath here. Walking the fingers back. Going to cross those legs over the opposite way. Lengthen the spine up. Take a little time just to make sure we're happy on the hips, knees, and ankles. Quite often we find that one side is a little bit different to the other. Lift the spine up. Fold forwards. Walk those hands out again. Hands back in. The final time will come into Shavasana. So just going to lift off the block, move it towards the back of the mat. Just strap out of the way so it doesn't feel like it's interfering. Take the feet out to the corner edges of the mat. Knees are high, hands behind. Roll the spine down to the floor. Hands out to the side. Then slide those heels out. Let the legs relax down. Eyes are closed. Jaw is soft. Wriggle as much as you feel you need to. And then let gravity do the rest. So succumb to that feeling of natural force. Begin to stretch those fingers and toes. And begin to roll the wrists and ankles. As we deepen the breath a little bit into the chest. Use that energy to stretch out. And slide your heels in towards your body. The easiest of hugs. Let the knees drop in, but we keep the spine flat to the floor. Rock a little bit from side to side. And then we'll roll onto our right side just for a breath. Use the hands on the exhale. Press our way back up smoothly. Roll ourselves into a seated posture. Sitting up tall, we can bring the hands in towards the heart, taking the breath in. So close the eyes, let the chin drop. Begin to slowly exhale, drawing your belly to your spine, bowing to the floor to seal your practice. The breath comes back in, let it build the spine for you. Head lifts, eyes open. Namaste. Thank you for joining me on this Wednesday morning for dynamic yoga. See you on the mat soon.